This is Midday Sunday. Our guest today is Leo Terrell, and we're talking about not so much the incidents in Baltimore and elsewhere that have caused the problems, but the problems themselves and the problems that the problems create. During the break, we started to talk about what would have happened if, let's say, some of those people from downtown Baltimore had decided to hop on whatever the public transit is and go out to the suburbs to a mall in a place where they have J. Crew stores, Apple stores, so on and so forth.
The National Guard, federal troops, planes would have flown in immediately because that economic influence there carries a lot of political clout. And sometimes that clout will work in strange ways that does not work in areas, in the minority areas, where those people who do not have a vested interest, economic interest, take any action to stop it.
But if you really want to grab the attention of the movers and shakers, you take it to them.
You take it to them, right. And the question is, how long will you be able to present your argument? It won't last that long. It won't last long at all. What we saw Monday in Baltimore, that all-night burning, I don't think it would happen at all in other areas outside the minority community.
So, and again, ladies and gentlemen, forgive a couple of guys for talking about things that a couple guys talk about. So as long as they're doing it to themselves, it's okay.
Yeah, and isn't that sad? Because we allow that, and who's responsible for that? Who's responsible for that?
Ultimately, we are.
We are, right.
You know?
And then, again, we talk about Baltimore, we have a black mayor, a black police chief, and they got knowledge of what's going on, and yet they allow it. Sometimes, Tony, even minorities take the mindset of the institution that they're trying to change, and that's exactly what's going on.
Didn't we see that during the slavery era?
Yeah.
You know, you become invested.
You become invested.
On one hand, there's people who are thinking, I am free in my mind, even though I'm not free in my body, but there are also people who simply surrendered.
Absolutely, and that's what, in some cases, like in Baltimore, has happened.
Smartphones. Social media.
Oh, I'm so happy. It is the greatest invention for police training. It's the smartphone, the video camera, the greatest police tool ever. And what we have seen the last 6 months, remarkable. Freddie Gray, the South Carolina case, all these cases, we would never have known but for these smartphones. And yet you heard people, before the smartphone came about, these things were happening. People didn't believe it. Now believe. The smartphone, the iPhone, whatever, the greatest police tool ever.
But the other side of that is it has also been used very effectively to organize some of these protests that turn into something worse. No?
Well, yes and no. There's been times where the social media, the iPhones have turned out to be destructive, i.e. you have these protests that turns out in a negative manner, but yet it also provides an alternative news source and information source for people who are not relying on traditional media outlets, and I think it's fantastic.
So if the poison makes you stronger instead of killing you, it's okay?
It's okay in that situation, yes, I'll take it.
Outside agitators, that's a term that you and I heard all the way back to Watts, that it was that. But more recently, it seems like there are people with an agenda who are not part of the community, but yet they are there and they are pushing.
Oh yeah, I'm not going to mention any names, but you see, I question their motives. You know, they come in with the intention, allegedly. I question those motives. We could talk about all these people, whenever there's a Ferguson or a Baltimore or even Los Angeles, all these people coming into the city, why? Are they really to help? Are they out there for their 15 minutes of fame? Are they there with another agenda? To me, it's destructive. It's counterproductive. I don't like it. Stay out of it. The community itself have enough, in my opinion, clergy, politicians, lawyers, doctors, Indian chiefs who can handle the problem if allowed to do so.
But they have obviously made some inroads. They obviously have enough people who listen to them.
Yeah, I mean, you look at what happened in Baltimore. Congressman Elijah Cummings went out there with a bullhorn. Go in, go in. There's enough community leaders inside. I question, Tony, outside agitators because they have hidden agendas that sometimes run afoul of what the intended purpose is.
You want to speculate on what some of those agendas might be? And let me reframe the question.
Okay.
So as a journalist, we are accustomed to having all sorts of things thrown at us, whether it's figuratively or literally. The last 2 times that I have been hit by flying objects were at Leimert Park and in some of the Ferguson protests. And I believe, based on what I was seeing, that it wasn't folks from the community who were throwing the bottles or the rocks. It was some of these outsiders.
I can't even give you a reason why they come in here, except for the fact they're people who want 15 minutes of fame, 15 minutes of attention, to divert the focus on something else, or to take the cause into a different direction, a wrong direction. Because every time it happens, in fact, I cannot tell you a time where outside agitators have come in and been productive. I can't think of a situation. No. It never works. No. It never helps. And so I'm always opposed to people coming in from the outside in to solve a problem that never materializes.
You raised the issue of the clergy. Do they still have the say so that they used to have?
You know what? The answer is not as much. But I hope I'm going to get people upset. In the black community, the clergy is still the most powerful group in the community.
Other than mothers.
Other than mothers.
Yeah.
And I think that power needs to be shared with black professionals, teachers, lawyers, because I think they bring more to the table or can supplement the table. There needs to be lawyers, doctors, educators involved in this movement, in addition to the clergy, to provide some type of leadership or guidance. What are they complaining about in the community? We don't have jobs. Well, we need economists. We need bankers. We need we need more education. Well, we need educators in the community to lead. The clergy has a purpose. I'm not taking that away, but I'm saying we need other professionals. If we're going to complain about all these ills of the community, we need those other professionals. We need a Leo Terrell or educators or bankers to help move the community.
But I have some experience with some organizations in the African-American community, and a lot of them were reluctant, for example, to become involved in a job training program where they were giving on-the-job training to young African-American men. I don't want those guys in my factory or in my business.
Again, I'm going to alienate some people. African-Americans do not have a history of working together economically. We don't have that. We need to develop that. We need to develop. We buy a lot. We don't build. We don't organize. And we need to start that, because we're always talking about, oh, look at the community. Well, we can't rely on the government all the time. We need to rely on ourselves. And we don't do that because we don't have that history.
And here, especially in Los Angeles, there's such a wonderful example. If you look at the Korean community.
Oh, please.
They finance themselves.
Yes.
They take care of themselves.
Yes.
You don't go to the Bank of America for a loan. You go to one of the community
And
Korean
we're watching it, and we don't use that playbook. It's available to us, but we don't use it.
Why?
You know what? I can't tell you why. Whenever I talked about this earlier.
Yeah.
It bothers me. I don't know.
Yeah.
That issue is a problem in our community.
Yeah.
All the work that I've done, I can't answer that.
Yeah.
But it's a problem.
You're a braver man than I am, because I often feel in this, I feel the same way you do. But you're brave enough to express it. Let's take a break, and we'll gather ourselves, and we'll be right back. Stay with us.